source of intelligence and knowledge. And he's also the source of forgetfulness. So when we stop engaging in sinful activities and then begin to engage in spiritual activities, this transcendental, let's say, endowment or transcendental uh, ability begins. So it begins when, after we renounce material desires and engage in devotional service according to the regulative principles. And it says, at that point, we are automatically freed from material desires. In that pure state of mind, one can realize the personality of Godhead. Well, what is this automatically freed from material desires? That's because we take up devotional service seriously and follow the regulative principles. So, Krishna is in the heart of every living entity. He instructs the devotee regarding pure devotional service. And how does he do that? He does that through the agency of his devotees. And by associating with other devotees who have taken proper initiation and who are following the regulative principles, they become agents of Krishna, and they help you to understand your relationship with Krishna and act in that relationship properly. If you say, no, I want to do this on my own, I don't want anybody to tell me what to do, blah, 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 it's not going to work. Because in the association of devotees, they can correct us when we make mistakes and or when we deviate unknowingly or accidentally, right? And right away they can inform us that, look, that this is wrong. So at one time there was this one devotee a long time ago, and he wasn't very advanced, and he said that I only do what God tells me to do. I said, okay. What is he telling you to do right now? See, we were driving. He was driving, and I was sitting next to him. So all of a sudden, he made a right turn, you know. And he said, he just told me to make a right turn. Well, now we can analyze this. How do we know that this is true or false? Because he's saying, well, he just told me right now. Right? Well, we might not be sure at first, but by continuing to, let's say, observe this person, if and in the case of this person, he was still smoking cigarettes, right, and doing other things. So that's the sign that God didn't tell him to turn right or left. It's all his speculation of his mind, right? And he's faking everything. He's not following the regulated principles of devotional service. So it's very important that we follow the regulated principles of devotional service without any alteration or without any speculation. If we do that, then we can make progressive devotional service progress and develop gradually more and more love and devotion for the Lord and get away from speculation and material desires and so forth. What is stopping us are the material desires. And we have many material desires. Now, can we dovetail those material desires into Krishna consciousness? Yes, it's possible. It's very possible. Like, let's say we have a material desire of making a lot of money. Okay. So you make a lot of money, but now the decision is there. Are you going to use the money for sense gratification, or will you use it for supporting Krishna consciousness? That's the fundamental, let's say, decision that we have to make. So many years ago, I made the decision to make a lot of money, and I gave most of it to Krishna consciousness, right? And because I did that, like what I was doing was uh, giving money to devotees who were preaching and doing book distribution in different countries. Uh, and I was recognized by the GBC for that service I was doing. And they made me a member of the GBC. And because I was giving large amounts of money to devotees who were preaching in different parts of the world for printing Prabhupada's books in those different languages, from Swahili to all kinds of different places where the devotees were preaching. So when we there's nothing wrong with making a lot of money as long as you do it honestly, uh, and helping using that money to further the Krishna conscious activities and making it easier for devotees to preach. If you use the money only for sense gratification, that's wrong. If you use the money to support Krishna consciousness and help devotees preach, that's the right way. Now, there's something that happens when you do that. In some mysterious way, Krishna helps you so you can make more money. Now, if that money is contaminating you, then Krishna will help you by taking it all away from you. And if it's not contaminating you and you're actually using that money, which belongs to Krishna anyway, to further Krishna consciousness, there's no limit to how much he'll give you. There's no limit. So you have to decide in your life whether you believe this or not. And if you believe it and follow it, then you'll see the result. Phalena parichate. You judge from the result. So if you're losing money, it's because you're not spending it correctly. If you're making more money, it's because you're using it in Krishna's service. Now, what does it mean to use it in Krishna's service? When I started giving large amounts of devotion of donations to devotees in different countries and preaching in different languages and printing books in different languages and so forth, I really felt good about it, and I was happy to continue doing it. And because of that, I was successful financially and also spiritually, because at the same time, I wasn't just working at the same time, I was regularly participating in the morning program and in festivals and different, going to people's houses and doing programs. At the same time, working and have a big factory and a lot of workers and so forth. And we would have programs for the workers also in the factory. We would celebrate different festivals with the workers. They were not forced to take part in that, but most of them did. So we see that you can dovetail your, let's say, penchant or the thing that you like to do into Krishna consciousness by engaging your, let's say, abilities to further Krishna consciousness development and helping other people understand Krishna and Krishna consciousness. Okay, so here it says, and this is Canto 3, Chapter 13, verse 39. The qualification of bhakti or devotional service to the Lord is that the devotee should be free from all material contaminations and desires. Free from all material contaminations and desires. This freedom is called vairagya, or renouncement of material desires. One who engages in devotional service to the Lord according to regulative principles is automatically freed from material desires. And in that pure state of mind, one can realize the personality of Godhead. Now, you see, it doesn't say you can't have any desires. Free from material desires doesn't mean you, you're going to have no desires. This is what the Mayavadis do. They're trying to eliminate all desires, right? In other words, they throw the baby out with the bathwater. but but that's not the point. The point is to get rid of the material desires and replace them with spiritual desires to serve the the Lord and the devotees. So one who engages in devotional service to the Lord according to regulative principles is automatically freed from material desire. And in that pure state of mind, one can realize the personality of Godhead. The personality of Godhead, being situated in everyone's heart, instructs the devotee regarding pure devotional service, so that he may ultimately achieve the association of the Lord. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 10.10 as follows: Te sam sakta yuktanam bhajatam pratipurvakam dadami buddhiyogam tam yenamam upayatate. To one who constantly engages in the devotional service of the Lord with faith and love, the Lord certainly gives the intelligence to achieve Him, meaning the Lord, at the ultimate end. However, one has to conquer the mind, and one may do it by following the Vedic rituals and performing different types of sacrifice. The ultimate end of all these performances is to attain bhakti, or the devotional service of the Lord. Without bhakti, one cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The original personality of Godhead, or his innumerable expansions of Vishnu, are the only objects of worship by all the Vedic rituals and sacrificial performances. So now, after reading this, let's understand what Srila Prabhupada did. He did not, I was there right from the first time that I met the devotees. They engaged me in devotional service. They didn't say, well, you got to do this, you got to do that, puja, do this, sacrifice, and that. Now, there was a man a long time ago, still early stages of being a devotee, who came to see me, and he saw me, chanting Hare Krishna. And he said, well, what you're doing is okay, he said, but it's not really what you should be doing. I was surprised. What was I doing? I was just chanting Hare Krishna, and I gave up meat eating, all that stuff. So he said, you should do this. Then he gave me a list, you have to do this puja and that puja, this thing and that thing, and it was really complicated. So I was thinking in my mind, he was preaching to me to be basically a follower of Hinduism, right? Following all those yagyas and different types of sacrifices. So I was polite. I didn't say anything, that was insulting to him. And I let him talk. And when he finished talking, I said, well, thank you very much. I'm really glad you gave me this information. So this is after he saw me chanting and doing arti and things like that, right? So, no, he wasn't a devotee. He wasn't a devotee. He was just, a good, let's say, Hindu practitioner, right? He was trying to help me understand what is the right thing to do, So I told him, but I said, my Guru Maharaj has taught me this, and That's all I said. I didn't say anything more than that. You know. And then he went into his whole, you know, instructions. Uh, so this is what you're going to be faced with in life. You know, who are you going to believe? Who now is what he's saying wrong? No, it's not necessarily wrong, but it's not effective in the age of Kali. In the age of Kali, the only sacrifice that we can do successfully is Harinam Sankirtan. All other yagas will not be successful in this age. So, should we believe this? Yes, because it's given to us uh, uh, by our uh, gurus and the disciplic succession. You know, I mean, Prabhupada didn't teach anything different. He taught us to take up Krishna consciousness seriously. That meant, you have to chant Hare Krishna, you have to give up sinful activities, and you have to go in Sankirtan, and you have to preach, and all these things. He told us to do that. He didn't tell us to sit down in a cave and meditate. Who's going to do that anyway? Do you know anybody who's going to do that? Just sit in a cave and meditate? No, no. Okay, or do a lot of pujas at home. Have a little fire sacrifice every morning and evening, and a little copper. The what do you call it? Puja utensils. There are people who do that every day. Every morning they do fire sacrifice in their little copper utensils, and then every evening they do it. And they recommend that to other people as the proper way of making some kind of spiritual advancement. Now, there might be some benefit in doing it, but it's nowhere near chanting Hare Krishna, going to Sankirtan, and reading Bhagavad Gita. Nowhere near that. Okay, so one who constantly engages in the devotional service of the Lord with faith and love, the Lord certainly gives the intelligence to achieve him at the ultimate end. One who one has to conquer the mind, and one may do it by following the Vedic rituals and by performing different types of sacrifice. The ultimate end of all these performances is to attain bhakti, or devotional service of the Lord. Without bhakti, one cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Well, let's think about this a minute. What if you accept bhakti right away, right? Then you don't have to do all those different yagas and penances and whatever. You just accept bhakti yoga right away. Right? And that's what Prabhupada was doing. Now, was it successful? Yeah, it was successful. But there were people that would, go away also. Not everybody remained in Krishna consciousness. But that's because they did not, they had strong material desires that they were not able to control, because perhaps they were not chanting their rounds every day properly, or they had really strong material desires and they kept it a secret, but eventually, they overwhelmed them and they left the movement. So it's important to get help when one is seriously disturbed by material desires. And that help comes in the form of devotees helping you improve your chanting and keep you engaged in devotional service. When I joined the temple, they kept me engaged in devotional service almost 24 hours a day. We had some sleep, but it was like even the sleep was part of the 24 hours a day devotional service. So that constant engagement is really important. And then it becomes a habit that you cannot stop being constantly engaged. And that's what keeps a devotee in Krishna consciousness. They're always constantly engaged in chanting and dancing and in preaching and so forth. Okay, so to one who constantly engages in the devotional service of the Lord, notice that it's saying, who constantly engages in the devotional service of the Lord with faith and love, the Lord certainly gives the intelligence to achieve him at the ultimate end. One has to conquer the mind, and one may do it by following the Vedic rituals and performing different types of sacrifice. The ultimate end of all those performances is to attain bhakti, or the devotional service of the Lord. Without bhakti, one cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The original personality Godhead, or his innumerable expansions of Vishnu, are the only objects of worship by all the Vedic rituals and sacrificial performances. Well, the good news is you don't have to do all those different types of sacrifices. You simply follow Prabhupada and Lord Chaitanya's instruction. You chant Hare Krishna. You give up all bad habits, and you accept all the good habits. Going to sleep early, waking up early, coming to the morning program, chanting Hare Krishna, etc. It's very simple. It's not complicated. So then, why does Prabhupada say, and one may do it by following the Vedic rituals and by performing different types of sacrifice? Well, because that is one way. But then he says the ultimate end of all these performances is to attain bhakti, or the devotional service of the Lord. Well, you can start by engaging in the devotional service of the Lord. Why do you have to go through all those different yagyas and things? Now, is that possible? Yeah, that's what Prabhupada did. Immediately he gave us mantra, Hare Krishna mantra. Immediately he engaged us in going on Sankirtan every day, preaching, and we all made very quick devotional progress. And eventually, after 6 months or 1 year, we got initiated, and we some people, left, but the ones that stayed, Prabhupada said once that, I'm not surprised by the ones that have left. I'm very surprised by the ones that have stayed. He actually said that. And, there were people that left, definitely. That's because they couldn't control their mind. They couldn't, take the shock of giving up sense gratification. And it's shock to give up sense gratification, definitely. But when the first shock I had was the first day I joined. The first thing Tamal Krishna Maharaj did, he was one person who, helped me surrender. He took away all my money. He literally took away every penny I had. And then the second thing was that he gave me a broom, and he said, tomorrow morning at 3 o'clock, you wake up and you go downstairs in the prasadam hall and you sweep. I said, what? I've never woken up at 3 o'clock. I've gone to sleep at 3 o'clock anymore, but I never woke up 3 o'clock. He said, well, you're going to start tomorrow morning. So, he was a real, let's say, trainer. And by that type of rigid training, you make a lot of spiritual progress very quickly. Okay, so one has to conquer the mind, and one may do it by following the Vedic rituals and by performing different types of sacrifice. Well, the ultimate sacrifice is chanting Hare Krishna and eating only prasadam, going to Sankirtan and preaching. That's the ultimate sacrifice. The ultimate end of all those performances is to attain bhakti, or the devotional service of the Lord. Without bhakti, one cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The original Personality of Godhead, or his innumerable expansions of Vishnu, are the only objects of worship by all the Vedic rituals and sacrificial performances. Okay, so if we take to worshiping the Lord uh, in this form at the temple, uh, then we are doing the ultimate, let's say, spiritual practice, and that's why we have deities at the temple. There's some temple, like if you go to a Baha'i temple, there's no deity. You go out and go to a Muslim temple, there's no deity. They, you're sort of like a little confused, especially you go to a Baha'i temple, you're really confused. There's nothing, absolutely nothing, right? There's a hole. There's a hole in the at the top of the building where there's light coming in. I don't know what happens when it rains. They must have some type of system. Yeah, and I was really shocked when I went to a Baha'i temple. But everyone, all the Baha'is, they were all smiling. I kept looking up, and I couldn't. I thought maybe my eyes were not correct, but no, there was a hole at the top, and some light was coming in it. Okay, so are there any questions?
The Baha'is, based on hearing, is Baha'i and Muslims who don't have any deity form, and then to some of the Hindu temples where you have all deity forms.
Yeah, that's the other exaggeration. Yeah, they have everybody, and anybody who comes in with a big donation, they put that person's deity on it. Yeah, sometimes. Yeah. Well, what we have a lot of deities also, but they're all Vishnu deities. The actually, all you need is one deity. That's Krishna, right? Ultimately, but Krishna has many different forms, so we can worship them, worship all of them if we want, or some of them, or only one of them. You know, the the ability to understand Krishna consciousness develops by association with good devotees. Otherwise, it's very hard to understand Krishna consciousness. Why? Because it requires self control, it requires regulation, it requires ultimately surrendering. And, you know, very few people really want to surrender. They don't want to be, let's say, under the control of some movement. And a lot of people today say, I'm spiritual, but I don't believe in following any organized religion. Yeah, a lot of people say that. They'd say, first of all, I am spiritual. So, what do you do? Well, not much you can do when they're so emphatic like that. So you just give them prasadam.
Like speak issues from Maharaj. He was telling
Who?
some speak issues from he's a young sannyasi in ISKCON
Okay.
in the UK.
Okay.
And somebody told him, it seems like this, that I'm not into organized religion. Then he told, it seems, oh, then you will love us because we are very
It's
disciplined.
organized. Well, who knows if that's true, though. Yeah. Well, that's why you have to use hook or crook to get them into the movement. That's good. Okay. So what time is it now?
7:11.
Okay. Any questions?
Any questions on the call, please?
Maharaj, I can ask one question.
Yes.
Conquering the mind.
Yes.
Prabhupada here says that one may do the Vedic rituals or different types of sacrifice. At what conditions the living entity, we prescribe these, that living entity?
Well, see, Prabhupada is not, let's say Prabhupada is including the, let's say, older way of following spiritual advancement, or let's say the recognized way of doing it, and also he's presenting Lord Chaitanya's way. He's explaining both, and he's recommending ultimately Lord Chaitanya's way. Lord Chaitanya's way is very simply simplified it tremendously. The older way, you perform these different yagyas, you will get somewhat purified, no doubt about it. But Lord Chaitanya's way brings you very quickly to pure love of Krishna, which is the ultimate goal. Now, is there no purification? Yes, there is. There's a tremendous amount of purification by chanting Hare Krishna, following the regulative principles, regularly, discussing the Shastras and going on Sankirtan. Very fast and very effective result. But Prabhupada doesn't reject the traditional way. He doesn't reject it. But ultimately, he doesn't recommend it either. But he cannot, just like one time, see, he was talking to this one Hindu gentleman, and Prabhupada said that it is possible to eat meat. And the Hindu gentleman said, I reject this. He said, no, you cannot reject it. It's in the Vedas. So, well, if that's in the Vedas, I reject the Vedas also. So, there are ceremonies you can perform to eat meat. It's in the Vedas. And so Prabhupada's point was you can't reject what's in the Vedas, but you can understand what Lord Chaitanya has given us, which is, you chant Hare Krishna, you give up all meat eating and gambling and all this bad habits. But the Krishna consciousness is a big tent, and everyone can fit in the tent, even the meat eaters, right? So if they're going to eat meat, then they have to follow the Vedic tradition, where you can only eat one black lamb that's slaughtered on the full moon night, and you have to say a mantra in which it says in Sanskrit, "Now I am slaughtering you, my dear lamb, and next life I will take birth as a lamb, and you will slaughter me." So of course it's in Sanskrit, but if you understand what the Sanskrit says, then you start thinking, what am I doing? I'm going to take birth like this lamb, and I'm going to be slaughtered by the lamb who takes birth as a human being. So ultimately, it's better not to do it. That's the ultimate result of saying the mantra. If you want to eat meat, So, therefore, there's always a way of becoming, let's say, purified by following the rigid, let's say, lifestyle of traditional, let's say, sadhus. However, uh, hardly anyone can do it in this age of Kali. Almost impossible. Right? But you can follow Krishna consciousness because it's full of happiness, full of chanting, dancing, uh, festivals, things like that. You're not sitting in a dark cave meditating silently for 20 years. Who's going to do that? Nobody's going to do that. But there are some people that try to do that. That you can't count them on your hand, and they are successful. But eventually they give up, and they come out of the cave, and they start welfare work or something like that. Because how long are you going to be alone in a cave meditating silently? It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen very long. So, therefore, this Krishna consciousness, a way of being, you know, purified and engaging in spiritual activity, is full of fun. It's a lot of fun if you take it properly. It's a lot of fun, and you learn a lot of interesting things: how to cook, how to do this, how to do that, and in the end, you're fully engaged 24 hours a day in service, and that's the goal: to be engaged 24 hours a day in service. See, when you go to sleep early and wake up early, that's being engaged in service also, because you're regulating yourself. So therefore, it's 24 hours. Someone said, well, how can it be 24 hours? You're sleeping 6 hours a day. Well, yeah, but 6 hours a day is part of the process. Right? So, yes, it is 24 hours a day. Haribol, any questions? No?
Any questions on the Zoom? Hare Krishna.
Looks like everyone got zoomed out.
If there are no more questions, we will end the session today. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, everyone. All
Hare
glories.
Krishna Maharaj.
Haribol.
Hare Krishna.